past 2 years, the travel and tourism sector had to navigate unprecedented shocks and disruptions. Now here in Dubai, industry leaders from 112 global destinations have come to discuss the future of the industry. Now, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, spending on business travel is expected to increase by 32% in the Middle East. Scott Livermore, a chief economist at Oxford Economics, tells me about the outlook for travel and tourism in the region.
I think where we are now is experiencing strong recovery in travel and tourism in the region. This has been led by the domestic travel and tourism sector, which has risen quite significantly, and that's quite a new future for the region. Before the crisis, some 55% of travel and tourism was domestic, and that rose to 80% at the peak of the crisis.
So people are travelling internally, so you're seeing domestic tourism driving growth right now?
Absolutely, and supporting the sector. And while those ratios may come down as international travel becomes normal and vaccine rollouts and restrictions are eased, we expect this change to stay, and we expect there to be a greater role for domestic travel and tourism going forward across the region, including countries like UAE, which were predominantly dependent on international visitors.
You know, the UAE has always been sort of one of the favourites because it's a very well-known destination, it's an easy destination. Who do you think is going to come out tops in the next year or so?
Over the next year or so, I think we're going to see really strong growth in the UAE. I think they've built the infrastructure, they've got a solid base and a successful travel and tourism sector already. And then there's ambitious plans, be it Qatar, be it Abu Dhabi and across the other Emirates.
So you see competition between the Emirates within the UAE?
Oh, absolutely. And competition's good. It allows the different tourism sectors or different regions to focus on consumer preferences. And it's all about differentiating yourself, carving out your niche, listening to what the consumer says, and then responding and delivering to that. And I think we're going to see a much more discerning and varied tourism demand around the world, and that gives scope and opportunities for the different countries within the region.
Look, you're an economist, so
Yes.
You're looking at the numbers,
Yes.
right? And when you see the oil price hitting levels where it makes flying a lot more expensive, are you worried about the knock-on effect, specifically for international travel?
I think there's a worrisome side and an optimistic side to that. The region is very dependent on medium to long haul travel. So around 2/3 of international visitors to the Middle East are classified as medium to long haul, compared to 40% for the world as a whole. And it's the long haul travel that will see the biggest impact from higher oil prices and higher airfares. And that could really limit demand for long haul travel, which this region is very dependent on. But on the other hand, high oil prices will really boost government revenues. That tends to be recycled and benefit incomes and growth in the oil exporting countries. And that's likely to lead to increased demand, especially short haul intra-regional travel.